The day the Earth almost lost every human. Look at the person sitting next to you. Look at your friends, your family, or even a random stranger on the street. If you trace all of our family trees backward through time, they don't just cross, they smash together into one single terrifying point. Almost every human alive today is a clone of a clone of a clone, all descended from a group of people so small they could fit inside a single high school gym. Today, there are over 8 billion human beings on Earth. We fill every continent, crowd into massive megacities, and dominate the planet. Our survival feels permanent. But if you rewind the cosmic clock to around 900,000 years ago, the story of humanity doesn't look like a triumph. It looks like a horror movie. Long before we built cities, wrote histories, or learned to farm, our ancestors walked right up to the edge of total permanent extinction. Recent genetic mapping revealed a terrifying truth. The human population plummeted until there were only about 1,280 breeding individuals left alive on the entire planet. Not 1,280 inches, one town, 1,280 on the whole Earth. We were more endangered than giant pandas, mountain gorillas, or black rhinos are today. And the strangest part? This wasn't a temporary crisis. For nearly 117,000 years, humanity stayed stuck in this microscopic bottleneck, just one bad winter away from vanishing forever. Which raises a chilling question. What happened to the world that almost killed us? And how did a tiny group of 1,280 people manage to save the entire future? To understand how we almost died, you have to understand the world 900,000 years ago. The planet was going through a violent transition known as the mid-Pleistocene transition. The climate cycle broke. Ice ages became longer, colder, and far more severe. Forests that used to provide food suddenly dried up and turned into barren tundras. Monsoon cycles failed, causing severe, prolonged droughts across Africa and Eurasia. The plants died, the large animals migrated or starved, and our ancestors were caught right in the middle. Imagine being part of a small band of humans. Every year, it gets colder. Every year, the water holes dry up faster. You travel to the next valley, but it's empty. You travel to the coast, and it's a desert. Group by group, our family tree was starved out. During this brutal era, close to 98.7% of our ancestral population was completely eliminated. Evolution was aggressively trimming the human bush, discarding variations that couldn't handle the new world. By the time the dust settled, the entire future of the human race was reduced to a population so small, you could easily fit all of them inside a single modern movie theater. If a single new disease had emerged, if a massive volcano had erupted, or if they simply had a few generations with slightly lower birth rates, human history would have ended before it even began. In biology, this is called a genetic bottleneck, and it does something highly dangerous to a species. It destroys genetic diversity. When a population shrinks to just 1,280 individuals, everyone becomes cousins. People start sharing the exact same weaknesses, the same genetic mutations, and the same vulnerabilities. Think about what happens to modern domestic dog breeds when they are heavily inbred. They develop chronic health defects. Our ancestors faced that exact same genetic trap for over 100,000 years. If a virus evolved to kill just one of them, it could easily kill all of them because none of them possess the unique genetic shield to fight it off. This is why modern humans are genetically bizarre. Even though there are 8 billion of us today, any two random humans are genetically more similar to each other than two chimpanzees from the same forest. We look diverse on the outside, but genetically, we are all carbon copies of that tiny, fragile group of 1,280 survivors. We are all built from a single, heavily compressed backup file. So, how did they survive? They didn't have the heavy fur of mammoths, the strength of Neanderthals, or the speed of big cats. Their superpower was something completely different: intense, hyper-cooperation. When resources became scarce, isolated groups of other human species tended to turn inward, become insular, and slowly die alone. But Homo sapiens ancestors did something unusual. They connected. They didn't just rely on their individual brains. They relied on the network between their brains. If one band found a way to extract water from a deep root, that information didn't stay in one valley. It spread. They invented a culture that moved faster than climate change. While their bodies couldn't grow thick fur to handle the cold ice age, their collective brains could figure out how to control fire, sew basic hides, and map out shifting animal migrations. Social connection became their ultimate shock absorber. By staying tightly knit, sharing scarce food, and protecting their collective knowledge, they managed to anchor themselves to the planet while everything else was being swept away. And then, around 800,000 years ago, the climate finally shifted again. The harsh, brutal environmental pressure eased. The world softened. The bottleneck broke. That tiny population of 1,280 people who had spent 1,000 generations learning how to survive the worst conditions imaginable suddenly found themselves in a world of abundance. They exploded outward. Every empire ever built, every book ever written, every technology ever invented, and every face you see on the street today exists because those 1,280 people refused to die. Their story is written inside your very body. Your DNA carries the scars of their ancient struggle, a literal reminder of how close we came to nothingness. It teaches us a humbling lesson. Survival is never guaranteed. Humanity isn't the permanent master of the earth. We are just the lucky descendants of a few clever survivors who managed to keep the fire burning when the rest of the world went cold.